Hello there, film enthusiasts. Welcome back to another honest review. Today we're diving into Hridayapoorvam. Hopefully I pronounce it properly. This one is a 2025 Malayalam romantic comedy / drama directed by Satyan Attinkath. The title translates to wholeheartedly, which is ironic because I couldn't wholeheartedly enjoy this film. Before we get started, I should warn you that there are major spoilers ahead. This shouldn't be an issue because the movie has been out for a while. So if you're planning to watch this film, now is your chance to walk away. This film stars Monhalal as Sandeep, a heart transplant survivor who, through a series of convenient plot contrivances, ends up meeting his donor's family and getting close to the daughter of the man who gave his heart away. This daughter is named Harita, played by Malavika Monhalal. The plot sounds touching, right? Well, hold on to your popcorn, because we're about to dissect this heart-themed mess. Yes, the premise sounds promising on paper. A heart recipient forms a connection with his donor's family. This movie could explore grief, second chances, and found family in really meaningful ways, right? But instead, what we get is a tired and tried premise that goes absolutely nowhere for true excruciating hours. Sandeep, for some strange reason, ends up attending his donor's daughter engagement, which should be a brief emotional encounter. But again, through some contrived circumstances, he ends up staying with the family. And that's when things get a little bit weird. The plot meanders aimlessly, as if the writers, in a desperate attempt to avoid predictability, simply decided the movie shouldn't go anywhere at all. It is like watching someone drive around a roundabout for 2 hours, occasionally signaling as if they were going to exit, but never actually doing so. Let me tell you a little bit about the actors and the acting. Monhalal, who is a respected actor in Malayalam cinema, is just Monhalal in this movie. This is an example of that classic "The Rock is the Rock" syndrome. What I mean this is a veteran actor who's no longer being asked to actually act, but just to show up to the movie set and be himself. In my opinion, this is a bit sad to see, especially when you know what Monhalal is capable of. It seems that his talent is just underutilized at this point. The rest of the cast fares no better, to be honest. Delivering performances so wooden or so flat that you could build a lovely garden set of furniture from them. At times, it genuinely feels like you're watching a first table read, you know, when the actors sit around when they see their lines for the first time. That's the feeling that you get from this movie. Basically, you can't tell the emotions from the actors. And in my opinion, the casting director has some serious questions to answer. I was wondering why in the world the mother and the daughter look practically the same age. I honestly kept waiting for a twist revealing that they were actually sisters or they were actually friends or something like that, but no. Apparently we're just supposed to accept this bizarre casting choice without question. And now, we need to talk about the most disturbing aspect of this film. For reasons that defy both logic and, in my opinion, basic decency, the movie takes an incredible and uncomfortable turn when Sandeep, the heart transplant survivor, begins developing romantic feelings for Harita, the daughter of his heart donor. Wait, let me emphasize this. The film establishes Sandeep as a father figure to Harita. He literally has her biological father's heart beating his chest. And then, in what can only be described as a grotesque narrative choice, the film shows Sandeep developing a crush on her. And let me tell you, it is not subtle at all. There are lingering glances, awkward conversations, and moments so cringe-inducing that I really had to pause the movie and go back and rewatch some of the scenes to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding and that I wasn't hallucinating. This bizarre subplot continues for around 15 minutes of screen time. And as if that wasn't bad enough, the mother also seems to develop feelings for Sandeep, creating this deeply uncomfortable pseudo-incestuous love triangle that literally nobody asked for. Honestly, what were the filmmakers thinking? Did no one during productions or even after post-production, whatever, raise their hands and ask, perhaps having a man romantically pursue someone that we have positioned so far as his daughter figure might be a bit off-putting? Honestly, the whole sequence feels like it belongs to a completely different film. And yeah, to a completely and much more problematic film. Anyways, that struck me so hard. That's probably the only thing that I could tell about this movie. Now, going back to the technical aspects of the movie, because that wasn't the only bad part, by the way. If you're unsure how to feel during this film, just don't worry, okay? The soundtrack will bash you over the head with it. The movie relies so heavily on musical cues that it feels like the filmmakers don't trust the acting or the story to convey emotions on their own. And rightfully so. I told you, the actors basically convey no emotions. The musical pieces themselves are largely forgettable and often feel like shoehorned in. This is kind of like typical of Indian cinema, so I'm not sure I should be complaining about this. It just feels like the film needed to hit a quota of song sequences regardless of whether they serve the narrative or are actually interesting. And finally, about the action sequences. Yes, there are action sequences in what is supposed to be a heartfelt drama. Again, Monhalal, despite playing a heart transplant patient who should probably reasonably be cautious about his health, ends up performing physical feats that would make literally Tom Cruise raise an eyebrow. This is pure fan service, I think. It's just designed to remind us that Monhalal is still an action hero, even if it makes absolute no sense for the character in this movie. Beneath all the cringe and confusion, there could have been some meaningful themes about second chances, grief, found family, those types of topics. But the film is so artificial and poorly executed that any potential depth is completely lost. The idea that receiving someone's heart could somehow connect you to their family, I think it is an interesting concept, but the film takes it to such literal and bizarre extremes that it loses any metaphorical power it might have had. In conclusion, I think this film had the potential to be a touching exploration of connection, grief, second chances, and found family. Instead, it just ends up being a cringe-inducing mess that wastes this premise and the talent of the cast. The deeply uncomfortable romantic subplot is perhaps the film's greatest sin. This is just a baffling creative choice that derails what could have been a heartwarming story, to be honest. Add that to the basically non-acting and manipulative musical cues and honestly the bloated runtime, and you have a film that I just can't recommend in good faith. Okay, if you're a die-hard Monhalal fan, you might find some enjoyment in seeing your favorite star on screen, but honestly, for everyone else, this definitely is one to skip. Your time would be better spent watching literally anything else. Perhaps even getting a medical textbook and reading about actual heart transplants would be more interesting. And yeah, that's all for today's review. If you enjoyed this video, unlike how I enjoyed this movie, please hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you've seen this movie wholehearted. And yeah, basically your thoughts about it. Anyways, until next time.